Should we ask everybody to say where they're from tonight?
Yes. So hello, everybody. As everyone's filtering in, thanks for being here. We'd love for you to share where you're tuning in from. Any fun information? Have you ever been to Venice before? Are you looking to go to Venice? You can share in the chat. Everyone's going to be on mute just because there's so many participants today. And then you can put any questions or anything you want to ask the community in the chat box, please.
Oh, look, David's from Calgary. Welcome. North, getting winter snow probably like we are here in Michigan, I bet.
And Dave Jones has been to Venice. He's from Massachusetts. Welcome.
And I see Pamela from Chicago. Welcome.
Great.
It looks like Nancy from Pennsylvania. I think I've seen you before, Nancy, so nice to see you again.
Isabel from Tampa, who grew up in Germany.
Oh, and Leslie said that she had to cancel the trip in May. So,
Cute.
yes, yeah.
We hope you're planning to go back.
Yeah. Debbie's on from Michigan. I see you. How are you?
Ooh,
She said she's
we have Julie from
been to Rome.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Ooh. Great.
Vancouver, San Francisco, Manchester. Well, we just got them from all the different time zones today. Tonight, today, this afternoon.
And climates.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think people are probably still coming in. Do you guys want to get started? Or should we wait a few minutes?
Maybe just wait one more minute.
Okay. Oh, Terry, Carnivale, nice.
Oh, look, another Heidi from Boston.
Paula said she's from Athens, Georgia. Welcome.
Okay, I haven't seen anybody new now for a little while, so.
So we're good? All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here. We're gonna get this started. So I'm just gonna share my screen here for a second. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Well, welcome again. It's February 15th. It is the month of love, so we hope everyone had a wonderful Valentine's Day, and we are here to talk to you about one of the world's most romantic cities, if not the world's most romantic city, which is Venice. As you can see, it's just absolutely beautiful. My name is Angela Isherwood. I'm part of a wonderful community of travel advisors called Eat, Drink, Travel. We are a community of 5 advisors who are dedicated to culinary travel and amazing immersive experiences for our clients. And during the pandemic, several of the advisors here today, including Candace and Maria, Candace from Stay Balanced Travel and Maria from Ingenious Travel, had a wonderful idea to start creating what is known as virtual vacations so that people could keep their wanderlust alive and keep the spirit of travel alive, even being confined from their homes. So Maria and Candace have been doing this since April of 2020, and Heidi and myself have recently joined the past couple months to also partake in these fun events, where we just love to share about lovely destinations with you all and incorporate fun things like wine tastings or cooking classes or other sorts of demonstrations to really bring the culture of the destination into your home and inspire you for hopefully future travels sometime in 2021 or even later. But this is all of our contact information. You can find us many different ways. All of us actually manage meetup groups in our local areas. So for those of you who are from Colorado, from Tampa Bay, from the Milwaukee area in Wisconsin, or Detroit area of Michigan, you'll be able to find us in our meetup groups. Please join us. Eventually, we'll get back to having in-person meetups, we hope, sooner rather than later, but for now, we're sticking to these virtual vacations. We also have private Facebook groups, Take a Virtual Vacation, and Eat, Drink, Travel as well, that we're very active on. And we have a YouTube channel. So after we give these presentations, we will download them and upload them to YouTube for you to go back and reference whenever you want. Or if you missed it, then you can always go back and reference the recording. So just to give you a little taste of Venice. So I love this quote because it's really talking about the impossibility that is Venice. And if you've ever been, which many of you have said you have, you understand what this means, right? Venice is made up of thousands of tiny little islands put together by canals and bridges, and it's a crazy place kind of just popping out of the sea, which makes it absolutely beautiful, very mysterious, and very romantic. So this quote I love because it says it's the city of mirrors, mirages, at once solid and liquid, and at once stone and air, which is just really true. Everywhere you look, you can see, you know, the glinting of the sun, the sparkling on the water, the moonlight sparkles at night. It's just absolutely stunning, as you can tell in this picture. And there's an air of mystery about Venice. Yes, there's an air of romance, but there's also just something beguiling and mystique about it. It is a place where you can get lost. Part of the charm of Venice is getting lost. You walk down these narrow streets and go over these tiny bridges, and all of a sudden you're somewhere that you had no intention of being, but there's hidden secrets behind all of the little alleys of Venice, and they're really wonderful. It's also mysterious and lovely because of the Palazzos. So this is a picture here of the grand Palazzos that sit in Venice. There's a bunch of them that sit along the Grand Canal from the time of the Republic when the noble families built these. You can see they're practically in the water. They're wonderful. You can stay in some of them. You can visit some of them. You can eat dinner in some of them. So they're really a wonderful and unique part of the city. And then just one last quote. If you've read a lot, nothing is as great as you've imagined, but Venice is better. And it really, pictures don't do it justice. You really have to see it to believe it. So I'm going to play a video for you. One of our partners that we all work with, they're a Virtuoso partner. They have a wonderful local guide in Venice who did a beautiful virtual walking tour for us, where he is going around the city. He's telling us all about the city's most romantic spots to see, things to do, places to eat, places to drink, really the whole shebang. And I'm so sorry for the background noise here. And so it's kind of just be careful of the audio because there's some parts that are a little softer because he's really in the city and he's really talking to us from the city. So just watch the audio, but I hope you'll enjoy the video. It is a really wonderful video. So without further ado, I'm going to share it. Okay, share.
When boy meets girl. That's amore.
When it comes to romance, Venice is definitely a cliché. Images come to mind of gondolas floating down the Grand Canal in the sunset, serenade, guided by a gondolier. But before to discover the city together and the reasons of why it is considered the most romantic city in the world, together with Terrace, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alvise, and I am the head tour guide of Queen of Clubs here in Venice, which is my hometown.
No.
I will lead you through the city with a virtual journey. Why Venice is so
I'm just going to give it a minute to kind of catch up here.
Angela, can you also put it in the widescreen? Is it on widescreen? There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
associated with romance.
When boy meets girl. Here's what they say.
Okay, I think we should, let me try and get this working. So I don't know if Warren, if you want to do the wine tasting first, or somebody else wants to jump in for a sec.
Sure. We can get into the wine, I guess, while the buffering continues on the video. It's amazing to see so many people on the call. I wish I could see everyone's face, but the ones I am able to look at, everyone looks very happy. And it's great to join you again for this second series and this tour of the Veneto and Venice. I'm sure we all have our Venice stories, as you probably saw in the chat window. I went to Venice following Venetoli, which is the largest Italian trade show in Verona, and made the mistake of going by myself to Venice following Verona. It's bad enough to go and visit Romeo and Juliet's house in Verona without going to Venice. Well, I did both. Suffice it to say, I heard all about it when I got back to San Francisco from my lovely Connie. And the next year, we went back to Venetoli together, where we tasted 400 wines in 3 days. It was pretty amazing, including the two we're drinking tonight. But took her back to Venice, which actually ended up being a belated honeymoon for us. We'd been married the year before and had a pretty extraordinary time staying at the Gritty Palace, a terrible, terrible podunk of a hotel, as I'm sure you pretty special place. And of course did all the great things, including Bellini's at Harry's Bar, which to my great sadness and chagrin is now closed forever.
Yeah.
But I didn't miss paying 28 euros for a little bit of peach juice. But anyway, much better value in what we're drinking tonight compared with what we drank at Harry's. We have a couple of lovely wines. Those of I think there are a handful of you who actually had me ship the wines to you. So hopefully you have that in front of you and have opened it. And we're going to drink two very, very famous wines from the Veneto in terms of native varietals. The first one is a sparkling wine, Prosecco. We tend to call everything with bubbles in it champagne, but as I'm sure most of you know, of late, a number of decades ago, the people in Champagne got very upset about us calling our sparkling wines in Italy and in Spain and in other places, including California, champagne. So now it is actually illegal to call anything champagne unless it's actually vinified in Champagne. But what we're drinking here is sparkling wine from the Veneto. It's Prosecco. But this is not your grandfather's Oldsmobile as far as Proseccos are concerned. There is the Prosecco that you find in the bottom shelf of your local supermarket or in Costco, most notably like the La Marca Prosecco. That Prosecco is good for putting in Aperol Spritzes or mimosas. Never put champagne in a mimosa. It ruins the champagne and spoils the orange juice. So this is a gorgeous wine. Prosecco Valdobiadine. It's a sort of the sub-region. It's the soil up there is all part of the foothills of the Dolomites. It's great volcanic soil, which gives the wine great minerality and structure and acid and balance, but also tremendous fruit. So this wine is made from a grape called Glera. It's in less expensive sparkling wines and Proseccos from that region. It's actually blended with other local varieties, but this is 100% Glera. And just a gorgeous wine from a vineyard that this very small winery, Adami, purchased in the 1920s. And it's reputed to be the first single vineyard Prosecco. All the grapes from one vineyard go only into this Giardino Prosecco. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous wine. Notes of those of you who have it, if you're smelling it, it's got beautiful floral notes, almost like honeysuckle and jasmine, those beautiful white flowers come through in the nose, but also some citrus notes and some maybe Granny Smith apple and stuff like that. So you get this beautiful balance of sweetness and acid, that tangy bite, which makes it a very, very good food wine. And those of you who don't have the wine, I feel sorry for you because it's pretty extraordinary. You can always reach out to me even after the fact, and we'll send you some. But so that's Prosecco and Glera. One of the beauties of Prosecco and of this particular wine is it's very low in alcohol. I think this wine is only 11% alcohol, which is not much more than Fiji water. So you can drink the whole bottle without really having to worry. And it's you're not going to necessarily get overwhelmed with in terms of feeling that you've had too much to drink. A lot of the wines, particularly those we have here in California now, they're pushing 15-16%, even in some of the sparkling wines. And that's pretty intense. But this wine is very pleasing, quite pleasant, very, very, very easy to drink, and just a lovely wine as an aperitif. Works really, really well with focaccia and fruits and anything, peach and melon and stuff like that. And just
that's what I've noticed, Warren, about a lot of the California wines, even like whether they're sparkling or anything like that, is that there's such a push to have a high alcohol content. where a lot of the European wines, you know, especially if they're organic, you don't have that really strong alcohol taste.
Yeah, and there are a number of factors there. One is tradition. The other is, you know, climat, what the French call climat, you know, climate and all of that kind of stuff. It tends to be a lot cooler, particularly in the northern climes of Europe. I mean, in the Veneto, you know, once you get up into the upper reach of the Veneto and even further north into Alta Adige and Trentino and Friuli, you're talking about the Dolomites, the Alps. It's much, much cooler over there. So as the grapes ripen, they don't produce as much sugar and consequently don't convert into as much alcohol. Whereas in Napa Valley, particularly, or in some parts of Sonoma, it gets very, very warm. Grapes, they pick the grapes deliberately later when they have more sugar to convert into higher content, alcohol content during the fermentation process. And that creates these big, robust, masculine wines that just bang you in the palate, you know, right out of the gate. Those big, huge fruit-forward Napa cabs, or those very voluptuous, oaky, buttery Chardonnays that are very, very popular. Nothing wrong with those wines. They don't happen to be my personal favorite. I like wines with a little bit more minerality, a little bit more femininity and grace and subtlety with secondary and tertiary characteristics. And in fact, in Napa and Sonoma, if you get the mountain vineyards, the small wineries, family owned particularly, that are making wine at Howell Mountain and these other places, Coombsville, they're making wines much more in the European style, lower alcohol and much more acidic and crisp, and they age more beautifully and work very, very well with food. And that way, after the third or fourth glass, you're not like crawling back to bed. You're actually still ready to go out for a night on the town, or continue to enjoy your night on the town for that matter.
I notice the older I get, the less alcohol I want in my beverage.
Oh, I'm the opposite. You're right. I want less alcohol in my beverage. I just need more of those beverages so that I can get more alcohol into my system. And especially now, because I read that COVID cannot survive in 38% or higher alcohol levels. So for the past 11 months, I have maintained a blood alcohol level of 38.1%.
Sure. I don't know if your liver and kidneys will appreciate that.
Those were petrified many years ago. I don't know if anyone else who has the wine is prepared to, wants anything to say about it, or.
Yeah, let's see if there's any questions that anybody has specifically. I know there's the Michigan group that I have. We found a local winery, and you'll see my wine tonight is a rosé because, as you mentioned, Warren, we don't have champagne. We have sparkling wine. And because the grapes here are kind of sweet, if it's a sparkling wine, it's kind of sweet in Michigan. I prefer the rosés because obviously they're, they leave the skins on them, and these aren't bubbly. So
well, it's interesting.
I like
What's interesting, I love rosé. I mean, I think rosé is a very special wine. We also have this notion that we should only drink rosé in the warm months, spring and summer.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you drink rosé champagne on New Year's Eve. So what's wrong with drinking, rosé during this time of the year? So it depends on your mood and the food you're drinking. If you're going to drink white wine, which is at 52 degrees or 58 degrees or whatever it is once you pull it out of the refrigerator, what's wrong with drinking rosé? It's cold too. So I have no issue. Don't feel embarrassed if you like rosé to drink it in the dead of winter. And I have some inventory left from the summer. I'll be happy to send you.
Yeah.
Want to buy this
well,
stuff.
the whole problem is you couldn't send it in because of the crazy Michigan liquor laws we got going on. You get 1,500 bottles and that's it.
Well, I do actually, it was a temporary pause, but I actually do have a mechanism by which to send wine to Michigan at the moment.
Oh, good.
It's a little more costly in terms of the shipping because I can't use my my shipping partner who gives me tremendous deals on shipping wine. I mean, I can ship a case of wine to New York for like $25. It's crazy.
Right.
But it costs, triple that to send 3 bottles to Michigan because it has to go. And then, of course, last week, the stupid UPS driver who's not supposed to do it left 3 bottles of wine on someone's doorstep during that blizzard you had last week.
Oh my goodness.
And exploded. So anyway, I don't know, Angela, if you're ready to go back to the video or if we should dive into the Suavia.
Yes, I think the video should be working. So let's give it a try here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it, and it looks like you got it in the full view, screen view, so let's give it a shot.
All right, here we go.
When it comes to romance, Venice is definitely a cliche. Images come to mind of gondolas floating down the Grand Canal in the sunset, serenaded by a gondolier. But before to discover the city together and the reasons of why it is considered the most romantic city in the world, together with Paris, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alvise, and I am the head tour guide of Queen of Clubs here in Venice, which is my hometown. I will lead you through the city with a virtual journey. Why Venice is so associated with romance? Well, firstly, you can whisper sweet nothings into your beloveds here without the sound being disturbed out by the traffic. The whole city is entirely car-free, which is most conducive to romantic wanderings by the canals at twilight, candlelight dinner in an intimate trattoria, or watching sunset over the magnificent palaces. Apart from near silence, there is the all-encompassing presence of the water. There is literally a canal around every corner in the city. It is a very common venue for weddings. In 2014, for example, George Clooney and Amal got married and they celebrated at the Aman Hotel. If the food of love for you involves exquisite pastries, delicious fish, pasta dishes, freshly stoned baked pizza and gelato in every flavor, you can imagine that Venice is simply a paradise for you. But before to see the top sights and the top things to do in Venice, I would like to give a great summary about the history of Venice. I will try to summarize 1,500 years of history in 2-3 minutes. The history of Venice started 1,500 years ago, when all the barbarians, they were coming all over Italy to conquer Italy, and the scared population of the mainland escaped in the lagoon to find their last chance of survival. The lagoon at the beginning was like this. This was Venice. Swamp, marsh. It was difficult for the Venetians to live here and difficult for the barbarians to come here. And at the beginning, we were just humble fishermen, trading fish and salt. This is the whole lagoon, and there are many small islands, but the bigger islands are Lido of Venice. It's a strip of island in front of Venice with a beautiful beach. Then there is Murano, it's an island famous worldwide for the glass, and Burano Island, famous for the colored houses. The map of Venice, the center of the city, it looks like a fish, or like two shaking hands like the merchants. So we start to trade fish and salt, step by step, slowly. Gold, spices, textiles, wine from all over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to the Arsenale. This was the first factory with assembly line ever. In 1104, we were able to build one ship a day. The peak of our empire, at the beginning of the 16th century, we were the ruler of all these strategical places in red, you can see. And with our ships, we were able to trade our goods from the Russian coast, Egypt, French rivers, trade, and trade. The slow decline of Venice started when Columbus discovered the Americas in 1492. What happened back in the day? So Venice became an entertainment city. There were Casanova, the masks, costumes, parties, and also the art was very, very important. Craftsmanship too. Murano glass back in the day was so important for the economy of the city. The masks, the meaning of the masks was to hide the face and lose your identity. So seduction games and the lace also. Let's talk about numbers. Venice is composed by 124 small islands, connected by 438 bridges. Then there are 178 canals, and the main canal is the Grand Canal. There were 6,000 wells in the past, nowadays roughly 2,000 wells. More than 3,000 streets, 148 churches, 58 now consecrated, and 170 bell towers. When showing you a forest, Venice is like a forest upside down. Do you remember the second picture? It was difficult to live right there. So we start to brought all the wooden piles from the Dolomites with the rivers and embed every wooden pile underneath the ground. Under the ground there is no oxygen, so the piles are petrified, rocked. So Venice is like a stilt. Last thing is the high tide. Have a look at these pictures. I personally took these pictures. This is the Venice Marathon. So we had, we solved the problem of the high tide with the Mose. It's a special infrastructures, but have a look at this shop. Have a look at the Chinese shopping. And every 6 hours, especially in the winter, we could have problems of high tide. You see the kids, they have fun. And also you can have a very good aperitivo with some cicchettis. So behind me you can see one of the top sites in Venice. One of the most famous bridges in Venice, the Rialto Bridge. Made in 1588, it superseded a section of wooden bridges. The wooden bridges collapsed many times, and at the end they say, okay, let's spend the money and make a beautiful bridge. And we did that. It's all made in Eastern stone from Croatia. There are 20,000 wooden pilings embedded on one side and 20,000 wooden pilings embedded on the other side to support the weight of the bridge. And it's the first bridge crossing the Grand Canal. There is a wonderful view from the top, so follow me. The bridge has also the shops on top. The Grand Canal is the most beautiful street in Venice. It's the main street, and there are public boats, garbage boats, gondolas, water taxis, Venetian typical boats. The city is entirely car-free. And this, especially when there is a sunset, it's one of the most beautiful views of the city. We are right in the center of the city and enjoy the view. We're here now in Marc Square, which is the most important square in Venice. It was the political, legislative and executive center of the city. There are many beautiful monuments right here. I would like to start from the clock tower, just right there. It's a working clock, which was made in 1499. And then the Basilica of St. Mark. It's the main church of the city. And the body of St. Mark is buried right inside, under the altar. It is very unique, the architecture. We have Islamic onion-shaped domes, Gothic French pinnacles, Baroque sculptures, Byzantine mosaics. It's a melting pot, because Venice was a port, and the merchants, they brought here spices, wine, textiles, with even architectural influences. Inside there are 8,000 square meters of mosaics, 26 million pieces of mosaics. There is also the possibility to visit the Basilica by night with a private tour, so keep in mind. Then we do have the bell tower, 99 meters. It was the highest bell towers in the world for many centuries. And it was also the lighthouse of Venice. Galileo Galilei tried the telescope for the first time on top. Have a look at a little bit of high tide before to proceed towards the Duchess Palace. Just a little bit, you can take beautiful pictures with the monuments reflected by the water. But have a look at the Duchess Palace. It was the place where the Doge used to live. The Doge was an elected king lifetime term. He was the ruler of the Republic. Also, we can visit by night with a private tour, after hours. It will be very, very interesting. But now, follow me. I want to show you also the famous Bridge of Sighs. I would like to spend more words about the Duchess Palace right behind me here. It was made in 1348. The architectural style is called the Gothic flowered style. It looks like a wedding cake too. Inside there are thousands of paintings, the institutional rooms, all decorated with oil on canvases and gold, wood and gold. It's really, really amazing inside. Next to the Duchess Palace there are the prisons, and the Duchess Palace is connected to the prisons with the Bridge of Sighs, a very famous Bridge of Sighs. I want to show you, follow me this way. These are the platforms for the high tide. When the city is flooded, the walkway, the Venetian can walk on top of this in order to avoid the tide. You can see. And have a look at the famous bridge. There we go. Made in 1614. The architect was the nephew of the architect of the Rialto Bridge. Why it's called Bridge of Sighs? Because it's connected the Duchess Palace to the new prisons. So the prisoners will sighs for the last time watching Venice through the windows. Nowadays, no prisoners anymore, so you can take a gondola and pass slowly under the Bridge of Sighs. The gondoliers, they say, if you kiss a lover under the Bridge of Sighs, you will stay forever together. Here, right in front of the bookshop, Acqua Alta, which means high tide. So there are thousands of books displayed on gondolas, bathtubs. At the end, there is a staircase made out of books. It's a truly magical place and very hidden, and it's going to be one of the top sights to see here in Venice. It's also very romantic too. The owner is not a very humble guy. Have a look. Welcome to the most beautiful bookshop in the world. So follow me this way. There are 5 cats inside. They're jumping on old books and they're not aggressive actually. So you can see the beginning to the left there are Venetian books, History of Venice. Here, hello. And to my right here, there is a bathtub. And in the middle of the shop here, a real gondola, 9 meters long, with all the books on top. It's pretty funny, but because the name of the place is High Tide, and you can imagine that when there is a high tide here, the owner is suffering pretty much. But follow me, I show you the most beautiful staircase in the world. This is how they call it too. It's made out of books. After the tides, the owner decided to recycle the books. You can also climb the staircase, follow the steps, the book steps, and you can have a wonderful view on a typical canal. And the flag of Venice too, the red is the flag of Venice with the red line. And have a look how romantic is. Another beautiful and such a romantic sight to see here in Venice is the Scala Contarini del Popolo. It's an external staircase of a noble palace. Why it was made? It was made to show off the wealth. In the past, noble families here, they used to compete between them. My palace is nicer than yours. I'm richer than you. This family was very rich, very wealthy. They didn't have the chance to show off the wealth on the facade because it's such a hidden place. So they decided to show off the wealth on the backyard in 1499 with the construction on this amazing staircase. Architectural style is a fusion between Gothic and Renaissance. But the main things to know is that with Queen of Clubs you can privately rent for wedding proposal, to celebrate anniversaries, for special breakfast, special cocktails on the top. And also there is the possibility to rent for an exclusive mandolin concert. I love this staircase. Another beautiful sight and so romantic is the terrace of Fonda Cobaite. So we are right on top of this commercial center, which is beautiful. It was a palace built on the 14th century. It was a place where the merchants from Germany used to trade their goods. So, but follow me this way. I want that you enjoy this such an amazing view. Now it's time to discover the top 3 romantic places where you can eat here in Venice. So the first one is Linea d'Ombra. It's located in Dorso Duro district and it's a contemporary designed restaurant, uses crystal, wood, steel and fur on its decor. Dine on modern cuisine inspired by tradition while enjoying the breathtaking view of over the Giudecca Canal. The second restaurant is called Ristorante Cuadri. It's owned by the family Alaimo. It's a 1 Michelin-starred restaurant and it represents a contemporary expression of traditional Italian and Venetian dishes. The fish arrives fresh from the Rialto market each day. The only restaurant in San Marco also was restored in early 2018 by Philippe Starck and other selected Venetian artisans, bringing back the original splendor of the space in a contemporary context. The atmosphere is a concentration of mystery, beauty, and poetry. The last restaurant is Locanda Cipriani, located in Torcello Island. There is Murano, Burano, and Torcello. It's pretty far, but with a beautiful boat ride, you can reach this place and you can enjoy the pleasure of the good cuisine in an oasis of beauty and tranquility as Ernest Hemingway, the Queen Elizabeth, Winston Churchill, Chagall, Max Ernst, and then also Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson. There are thousands also of weddings they have been celebrated here because of its romantic feeling that you have. The menus are based on the Cipriani cuisine, which is considered an excellent brand of Veneto and has found a high popularity among its worldwide customers. Now it's time to discover the top 3 places where you can have a drink here in Venice. The first one is Café Florian. Born in 1720, so this year actually was the 300th birthday of Café Florian. It is the oldest cafe in the world. It's like a museum with 18th century paintings and historical wood furnitures. People don't sit at Café Florian for a simple coffee, but to plunge into a unique experience where you can breathe the history, listen to the good music of the orchestra, and be pampered by the excellent service on strictly silver trays and enjoy the view of the beautiful Marc Square. The second place is the Harry's Bar. It's a very famous place opened in 1931 by Giuseppe Cipriani. It's a place where Charlie Chaplin, Alfred Hitchcock, Peggy Guggenheim, Woody Allen, George Clooney, and Hemingway had drinks. Harry's Bar is the home of the Carpaccio and of the Bellini, which is definitely the drink that you must to have here. Another place where you can enjoy a very good cocktail is the Experimental Cocktail Club, a brand that's already proven hugely successful in Paris, New York, and London. Opened in Venice in August 2019, is symptomatic of the new and exciting bar scene emerging in the city. Set in the Palazzo Experimental Boutique Hotel, the destination is a fittingly Venetian, a restored Renaissance palace in Art Deco style, overlooking the Giudecca Canal in the Dorso Duro district. It's located just outside the tourist drag in the city's sophisticated university district. They have a very interesting cocktail list. Now it's time to talk about the most romantic and exclusive places to stay here in Venice. The Gritti Palace is the first. Gritti Palace is overlooking the Grand Canal in the heart of Venice, and it has one of the most beautiful views of the lagoon city. Dating to 1475, this noble palace and luxury hotel is a place of exceptional art and elegance that has kept its intimate and familiar feel of a private residence. An historical treasure where heritage and culture blend with renewed Venetian style. The Gritti Palace is where multiple generations of elite global influencers gather to explore, taste, and celebrate love. They have a wonderful terrace where you can enjoy a Prosecco after a long walk to discover the city. The second place is the stunning Palazzo Renard Luxury Hotel, opened its door to the public in August 2016. It is a boutique hotel with 18 prestigious and decorated rooms and suites, each based on a unique aspect of Venetian history. Fronted by its colorful garden facing directly into the Grand Canal, the entire 16th century palazzo and grounds have been carefully restored with minute attention to details. Original features which includes Renaissance frescoes and marble fireplaces. In addition, which is very important, the Palazzo Renard boasts the privilege of hosting the exclusive glam restaurant, 2 Michelin stars since 2020, led by the multi-starred Enrico Bartolini and resident chef Donato Ascani. The restaurant offers unique menus for a gastronomic experience of the highest level. Another wonderful place to stay is the Luna Baglioni Hotel. It is an historic Venetian hotel, dates back to the 12th century. In 1574, it was already known as a Locanda della Luna. During the 18th century, the building was decorated with frescoes by Giambattista Tiepolo, which now adorn the sumptuous Marco Polo ballroom. It's now the breakfast room. Recent renovations have improved the hotel with new spacious suites to spoil its guests with breathtaking views over the lagoon and the St. Mark's Basin. It is located just a few steps from Marc Square, just a short distance from the city's most famous historical attractions, wonderful monuments, museums, and refined boutiques. A private mooring berth enables gondolas to reach the entrance of the hotel. It is one of the best spots to start and to end a very romantic gondola ride. Now it's time to discover the Veneto region. There are beautiful places to visit, such as Verona, which is also called the City of Love, and is only 2 hours by train from Venice. With a vibrant history, unique cultural legacy through the plays of William Shakespeare, and beautiful architecture, the city is a must-see for romantics, history buffs, and culture lovers. You can spend the day strolling the streets where Romeo and Giulietta was set, checking out one of Europe's most vibrant cafe cultures, or visiting the 2,000 years old arena which still hosts operas each summer. Otherwise, you can take a car from Venice to reach the Prosecco Hills, close to Treviso. Prosecco has grown world famous as the sparkling wine of Italy. Grown in the Prosecco Hills, just north of Venice, a visit to the wine region is not only tasty but excessively scenic. As opposed to Champagne, which refers to a region, the name Prosecco refers to the grape itself. It is grown in this lush valley of Italy, surrounded by green hills and framed by the Dolomite mountains. Prosecco has been grown here for more than 10 centuries. 3 main towns can be found in the region: Valdobiadine, Conegliano, and Vittorio Veneto. Mild climate and rich soils make the vineyards, tasting rooms, and local restaurants all offer opportunities to taste the dry, light sparkling wine as it serves. Many of the vineyards have small terraces on steep slopes that offer great views of the surrounding countryside. If you like the mountains and adventures and hiking, you can't miss the Dolomites. The Dolomites are 1 hour and 30 minutes by car from Venice, and they have been listed as UNESCO Cultural Heritage. You can visit the chic mountain town of Cortina d'Ampezzo, also called the Pearl of the Dolomites, and then see the stunning lake Sorapis with clear tropical water, as well as the Tre Cime di Lavaredo and the Tofana mountain. Now let's talk about food and wine in Venice and Veneto. The genuine Venetian cuisine consists of some truly flavorful and refined dishes relying heavily on fish and vegetables. The risotto al nero di seppia, it is a squid ink risotto. This dish wins even the most skeptical visitors over with the distinct brainy flavor of its squid, wine, onion, tomato, and ink braise. Then there are the moeke. For their godness, they are called the Venice Nuggets. The moeke are small soft-shell crabs fishing in the Venetian lagoon only at certain times of the year, during the molting phase between one carapace to another. They are undoubtedly among the most particular specialties of our culinary tradition. The moeke are very soft, delicious, tasty, and rare. In fact, you can find them only in early spring and April and in October. So if you're here in Venice, you will be the lucky ones to try this fantastic and unique traditional food. Then there are the fritole. If you're lucky enough to be visiting Venice during the carnival period, then you must try the fritole, which are sweet pastry fritters traditionally prepared and eaten as part of the festivities right before Lent. Made with a rich batter consisting of flour, eggs, butter, milk, sugar, pine nuts, and raisins. And they are molded in bowls, deep fried in oil and dusted with sugar. Highly recommended for those with a sweet taste. The Veneto region has a remarkably varied landscape and is home to a variety of microclimates, creating the perfect condition for growing both quality red and white wines. For a taste of something really local, there are also wines such as Orto di Venezia and Venissa. These wines are produced on the islands of the lagoon, but I will suggest to have a Bellini, fresh peach juice and Prosecco, or the famous Aperol Spritz, which was invented in Venice at the end of the 19th century. It is composed by 1/3 of Prosecco, 1/3 of Aperol, 1/3 of soda water, and 1 slice of orange and 1 olive. Aperol Spritz is an ultra refreshing, not too sweet, bubbly cocktail. A proper Aperol Spritz tastes like summertime and looks like a golden orange sunset. As far as concerning the wines of Veneto region, we cannot miss the Amarone De La Pulicella. Amarone is a rich red wine that originates from Valpolicella area, close to Verona, known for its very strong, powerful flavor. It also has a high alcohol percentage, up to 15-16%. Valpolicellians have been stomping grapes since the days of ancient Greece, and the red wine only seems to get better with age. Expect strong, concentrated flavors of dried figs, cherries, savory, and licorice that balance well with the boozy content. My favorites are definitely the Allegrini and the Masi. Other typical specialties from the Veneto region are the Polenta. Polenta is made from coarsely ground yellow corn and has always been popular in Veneto for its simplicity and versatility. In restaurants, polenta is often served with marinara sauce as a creamy accompaniment to chicken, pork, and short ribs. Then we have the radicchio of Treviso. Treviso is regarded as one of the best provinces in all northern Italy for vegetables, thanks to its incredibly fertile soil. Radicchio, chioggia, and Castelfranco are very famous lettuce from Treviso and look as good as they taste. Cardoons, celery-like roots, are popular all over the Veneto region, while everything from peas and beans to wild mushrooms and artichokes are incredibly popular when in season. Then I would like to end with the tiramisu. The origins of the worldwide known tiramisu are disputed, but all stories tend to point to Treviso. The name translates to pick me up, thanks to the inclusion of coffee, and seemed to come to prominence in the 60s. The delicate flavor of layers of mascarpone and Italian custard are contrasted with the darkly robust presence of espresso and sharpness of cocoa powder. Hope you enjoyed the video. Angela, Queen of Clubs, and I, we're all looking forward to welcome you in Venice soon, and happy Valentine's Day.
Well,
Okay.
awesome.
I
That was
hope
great.
good. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Sorry again for all the technical issues, but thank you for hanging in there with us.
It was worth waiting for, Angela.
It was, right? He's so cute. He did a great job. So, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to kick it back over to Warren. Actually, there's one thing I just want to share with everybody here quick. Can you see my screen?
Not
Not
yet.
right now.
No? Okay. Share.
There we go. We're seeing
Perfect.
something.
Perfect. Okay. So we just wanted to, the four of us here, wanted to offer just a little bit of a special amenity or a special value add for those of you who are taking the time to really be present with us at these events. If you are looking to get back to Venice or Italy this year or next year, or whenever you're able to, do reach out to us in the next 10 days, and we'd love to offer anyone who's able to book a vacation with one of us an extra special amenity valued at up to $100. So it is a limited time offer, but just a little thank you that we want to give to those of you who are interested, who are present and interested in using our services in the future. So our information is once again on this slide. We'll also copy and paste it into the chat box, as well as all of the places that Alvise mentioned. But in the meantime, I'm going to let Warren get back to the wine tasting.
Oh, and I just want to add in, for those of you that aren't familiar with the chat box, there's a little, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little box with 3 little dots that are horizontal. When you click on that, it says save chat. And then what happens is it saves the actual chat information that we put in there. Angela mentioned she's going to put our information in there, but then she's also going to give information about the video and such, with locations and things like that. So if you're wanting that, just make sure that you put that information in the chat, and that we will make sure we get that out to you.
Great. All right, Warren, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, and we're back. Well, I mean, that was pretty amazing. I mean, just looking at all of us, those of us who have been there, to be able to walk through Piazza San Marco and up and all over, around and over those bridges, and not have a single other tourist there would be, my goodness, that would be like, wouldn't that be amazing? It's pretty much of a fantasy, but that was pretty extraordinary to see all those wonderful places again, and the rooms in the hotel I stayed in, supposedly. But anyway, I encourage, if you have been to Venice like me, you just can't wait to go back. And if you haven't been, I strongly encourage you, if that video didn't seduce you into grabbing your passport and running to the airport as soon as we're allowed to. I don't know what will. So thank you for that, Angela. That was pretty good, and I think he would be an awesome guy to share that with. So back to the wines. I mean, I think it was pretty interesting. Right? We were talking a little bit earlier about Aperol Spritzes, and we were talking about the different regions and the Dolomites, and it's so far when you go up there, that north up into the Dolomites and Treviso and Alta Adige and these other places, it's really cool because it's so far north. They speak Italian with German accents. Isn't
that fun?
Big weird thing, right? You got a restaurant in Trentino and it's Vienna Schnitzel, and it looks like Heidi. The Heidi movie set was dropped off. It's pretty cool, and I guess the grapes don't know that at some point after World War I and World War II, the Austro-Hungarian Empire walked away, and the grapes don't know that there's a line in the map. So these varietals exist across that entire region. In fact, a lot of them emanating from Croatia, where I just did one of these just recently. But speaking of wine from that region, you saw the beautiful, beautiful vineyards of the Veneto, in those hills where Prosecco is made. Actually, it's Glera is the grape, Prosecco is the style of wine. But you can see just how gorgeous it is and how steep slopes some of those vineyards are, and some of them date back, they do certainly date back centuries. And there's a huge spectrum of difference. So always look for a smaller production, look for a Prosecco where it says DOCG on the neck of the label, which is the highest level, Denominazione Originali Controllata Garantita, which is the European and Italy's highest level of quality. And in order to, those are vineyards that are designated of the most exceptional quality that date back. They're very, very strictly controlled in terms of what grape varietals are allowed into it, how long the wine has to be aged, etc. And that is really your best sign of quality, particularly when looking at Italian wines. Always look for DOCG on the label. Now, there are a few exceptions, one of which is the wine that some of you have in front of you, which is the Massifiti, which is a wine by one of my favorite wineries in the Veneto, in Suavia. And it's just a gorgeous wine. It's a small winery. It's owned and run by three lovely women, a mother and her two daughters, and which is quite unusual, actually, although there are more and more and more women taking prominent positions in the wine industry, particularly in Europe these days, which is a wonderful and refreshing change from the way things used to be. I actually think anything and everything is improved when women are involved. I love women. My mother was a woman. My daughter is a woman. Both my wives, frankly, have been women. And I think, the more women, the better, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway.
Scarlett asked Warren if you can show the bottle of wine that you're featuring tonight.
I already recycled it.
I have them.
Okay, Angela has them. So good.
Can you see that?
That's the Prosecco. So if you lower it a little,
if you turn it a little bit, there you go. That's better.
And if you text me or email you, I can send. In fact, I think Angela, in your link, you put links to the instructions.
She does. Yeah.
Yes.
We've all included
your original
them.
invitation. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Angela has links to the specific wines that we have tonight. Yeah. But actually, hold up that Massifiti bottle again, because it's really cool. It's a
cool bottle.
It's a very cool bottle. It's a little shorter.
Tilt it a little back towards you, so the top comes towards your. If you hold it close and tilt it on an angle, so that there you go.
So you can see on the label Suavia. That's the region where it's from. Suave is the region, Suavia is the winery. Massifiti is the name of this particular wine, which is interesting because that, the ancient village where Suavia is based was called Fita, which comes from the Latin word fictus, driven in, which refers to the the basalt that is naturally found in the area, the soil, and it looks like someone like Thor took a pile driver and rammed them into the ground. And that's why massifiti translates roughly as embedded masses. And it's a sort of a tribute to the impacted basalt soil that is around it, that very rocky soil, which gives it a beautiful freshness and minerality as a consequence of that very rocky soil. It's not like clay or a lot of sand like in many other areas, which means that the roots of the vine have to fight for every drop of water they can possibly get, which creates a great flavor intensity in the fruit, great concentration of that terroir in the wine, which is really terrific. A great minerality, great acid. This particular wine is 100% Trebbiano, which is a varietal very prominent and native from the Veneto. It's a wine that is just beautiful, gorgeous, pale straw color, and interestingly, on the nose has the very, very similar characteristics of the Prosecco. It's also got those white flowers, all the same honeysuckle and thing notes, those of you who have it, that are present in the Prosecco, which makes sense, right? Because we talked a little bit about California wines earlier, and one of the reasons that I am a particular fan of these old world wines, not only because they're tremendous values. I think the wines here in California, as great as they are, just gotten extortionately expensive. But there's very little interference in the production of this wine. I mean, the whole goal there is to allow what nature gives you in terms of climat and terroir, and allow that to show through the grape into the glass, which is what makes these wines so different. The bottle that Angela was holding up, it's a very dark, almost black bottle. Suavia makes a phenomenal wine called Monty Carbonaro, which is the mountain of coal, sort of basically. Carbonaro is coal, and it's a black. You can see the bottle's black to sort of reflect the essence of that area. And in the mouth, the wine just has gorgeous, rich, voluptuous mouthfeel. It's almost velvety in the mouth, has great length. It doesn't give you that, pucker that you sometimes get with some grassy Sauvignon Blancs or others. It's just a beautiful wine. And I'd volunteer to bet that of the 69 people left on the call, we started with 102. So clearly 30% of people don't like my face. But I'd venture to bet that fewer than 10% of the folks initially on this call have ever had a Garganega or a Trebbiano from the Veneto, unless you happen to have been there. And you're probably highly unlikely to have had this particular wine and this particular winery, because it's so small and so little of it ever makes it into the United States. And the same is true of Adami, the Prosecco maker. I think they have a production of just over 100,000 bottles of wine. And those are the things that I like, and what I specialize in is trying to find wines that you won't find in your local supermarket or on the shelves of Costco. And want to find something interesting and different. It's always much more fun to discover something new, something that reminds you of the place and time that when you experience your travels. And I think that's what makes things a lot more interesting. And I think also similar to the Prosecco, this wine, for a white wine, only has 12.5% alcohol. And the entire winery only makes about 100,000 bottles of wine, and even fewer, obviously. And this Massafiti is probably the largest quantity of that. Very popular wine. Actually, no, their regular Soave would be the highest volume, and then they go into the single vineyard Monte Carbonaro, and this Trebbiano. But the Monte Carbonaro, if you haven't had it, is fantastic. It's 100% Garganega, which is another local varietal from that area. So those are the two wines we had. I do want to mention our tour guide was talking about the Amarone from up sort of Lake Garda area. They come up there. Amarone is really, really famous. And I'm not, those of you who've had Amarone, it's this beautiful, robust, bold red wine. Yes, it can get to 16% plus alcohol. The reason for that is they harvest the grapes and then they put them on mats or hang them, depending on the particular winery's style. And they desiccate all the liquid from the grapes. So they create raisins out of them. And then they squeeze that intensity into wine. And it's a lot more expensive, of course. You need a lot more grapes to make a glass of wine than you need a lot more raisins to make a glass of wine than you need a bunch of grapes. But the intensity of Amarone, if you've never had an Amarone from the Veneto, it's something you should seek out and drink it with some bigoli pasta or something like that, which is also famous and to that area. Speaking of which, we looked at some of the restaurants and the food. Those of you who've been to Italy know this, even France to a large extent, in Europe in general. It's very rare that you'll see someone just drinking a glass of wine.
Right.
They'll drink an Aperol Spritz for sure, or 6 or 7 of them like I do, because that's drinking Kool-Aid. But and what we do is, but as soon as the food comes out, then it's all about wine. It's wine and food. It's always together, and that's a really, really great part of the world. The Milanese cuisine, a little bit west of the Veneto, is great. In Piemonte, where all the great Barolos and Barbarescos come from. You go a little further south, you go into Emilia Romagna, which is probably the greatest region for food anywhere in the world, and stuff like that. So anyway, that's the story of the wine and the region. So if anyone has any questions, speak up or throw them into the Q&A or the chat window. Be happy to answer anything I can. And if you want the wines for the next series and you haven't ordered them, reach out to Angela or reach out to me directly, and we'll make that happen for you. It'll be tough to get the wines for next. When are we meeting again, Angela?
The 24th.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough to get the wines out from California to everyone by then, but that's okay. You can drink them after the fact while watching the video of my ugly mug all over again. And if you're an insomniac, the wine plus listening to me drone on will certainly put you to sleep.
No, that was really great, Warren. Thank you so much. And thanks for bringing up the other events. I just want to mention Warren will be with us for 2 more events coming up here. One next week on the 24th, where we're going to go to Argentina. And he's going to actually take us to the 2020 World's Best Vineyards. So you don't want to miss it. The wines are fantastic. Even if you can't get them in time for the event, you should definitely order them from Warren, because they're well worth it. And then in March, we're going to be going to South Africa, which is actually where Warren's from. So he has a lot to say about South African wines, and they're also very delicious. So hopefully you'll join us for those events. And then on March 2nd, we have another event coming up that Candace is hosting, which is actually going to be an olive oil and balsamic vinegar tasting event, which is going to be super fun. It's going to feature oils from Greece and Italy, so 2 of our favorite destinations. So make sure to check that one out as well.
Super excited about that too.
Great. Well, thank you all again for hanging in with us. Thank you for hanging in through the technical difficulties. We really appreciate it. And we hope that we can all travel again soon and to see you soon.
Oh, you know what? I should just mention too, you can order the olive oil and vinegar just by go to the meetup or one of the emails that you received. And it's only $32 for the samples. And I have them like here. They send you, you're going to get 7 of these little bottles. I know it's hard to see because of the background, but I'm very excited because they came really quick. It only took like 4 days. So I was like, ooh.
It's going to be great.
We don't have Alcoholic Beverage Control Board restrictions on shipping olive oil.
Right, Warren, that's it.
If I ship you wine, the bottles will be a little bigger than that.
And Jennifer, just for everyone who wants to know the wine names and everything that Elvise was talking about and maybe you couldn't understand perfectly, we will send all of that information out in email with the recording in the next couple of days here. So thank you for your patience, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good
everybody.
evening. Bye. Bye, Warren.
Bye. See you next time.